Good morning, I am Tracy Spence with your newscast. This newscast is brought to you courtesy of BioLife Energy Systems. Come join, believe in. Call them at 800-875-5433. USA Credit Repair, a key to beautiful credit. You may call them at 800-786-1330. Cruising with the Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration, weekdays 8:30 a.m., on Saturdays 7 p.m. and 12 noon on Sundays. And the Supreme Power Homes, call them at 800-493-9002. Now for the news in details. Outgoing President of the People's National Party, PNP, Dr. Peter Phillips, has congratulated newly elected President Mark Golden, who won yesterday's presidential election. In a statement issued, Dr. Phillips urged the party, including all members, affiliates, and supporters, to unite in full support of the leader as the organization embarks on the task of charting the way forward in keeping with the progressive tradition and the need to strengthen the PNP's political concerns. Golden defeated a member of parliament for South and Southeastern Lisa Hanna by 296 votes. Golden received 1,740 votes, while Hanna got 1,444. Roughly 3,500 delegates were eligible to vote. The Trinidad and Tobago government on Saturday outlined new protocols for entry into the country as it eased slightly some of the existing measures in place to curb the spread of the coronavirus COVID-19. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, speaking at a news conference, made it clear that it would be impossible for all nationals wanting to come home for the Christmas season to be accommodated. Young said that individuals entering Trinidad and Tobago would now have to be in possession of a negative PCR test done 2 days prior to arrival, and that they would be placed in state quarantine facilities, mainly hotels, for the next 7 days and released only after testing negative after the 6th day in quarantine. Young said that as of last Friday, 13,042 nationals and residents have applied for re-entry to the island and that 7,204 exemptions had been granted. But he said he had noticed a new situation where many persons who had been allowed to leave the country were now trying to re-enter as quickly as possible, having completed the purpose of their visits overseas. Trinidad and Tobago has recorded 5,798 positive cases of the virus with 111 deaths. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves was sworn into office for the fifth consecutive term on Saturday, extending a hand of friendship to all in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but remaining adamant that his administration will not be involved in the sale of passports to fiancé socio-economic developments there. Gonsalves, 74, led his ruling United Labour Party ULP to a 9-6 victory over the main opposition New Democratic Party NDP in last Thursday's general election, reversing the results of the past 2 general elections when the party won a slender 1-seat majority in the 15-member parliament. Gonsalves acknowledged that there has been bruised sentiments on both sides of the political divide, but has been sorting by the island's first Governor General Suzanne Duggan that the time for division was over. Gonsalves hinted at the possibility of having a Ministry of National Reconciliation, saying that it had been an issue discussed in the past. In sports for this morning, the Jamaica Football Federation JFF President Michael Ricketts says the National Premier League is unlikely to begin as planned on November 14. Local football has been inactive for 8 months because of the coronavirus pandemic. The proposed start date was dependent on the approval of health protocols set by the JFF to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. However, the JFF was asked to make changes to the proposed measures, which included protocols for potential centralized venues. While Ricketts said that the measures were resubmitted and the absence of approval from the ministry means that the start date may have to be pushed back. Ricketts said that the timeline could be moved up depending on when the Federation receives clearance, but the new date could be December 6. And that is it for the news. This newscast came to you courtesy of BioLife Energy Systems. Come join, believe in. Call them at 800-875-5433. USA Credit Repair, the key to beautiful credit. You may call them at 800-786-1330. Cruising with the Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration, weekdays 8:30 a.m., on Saturdays 7 p.m. and 12 noon on Sundays. And Supreme Power Homes, call them at 800-493-9002. On behalf of the news and production team, I am Tracy Spence. To have a good morning.